Hey guys, short intro here. Thanks for tuning into the video. We're going to have Omen Mages and 7 cost as our first round of the top 8. Naturally, we've already covered Omen Mages extensively, and we're going to get into other matchups, but 7 cost not only is a powerhouse of the format, but a big question mark for Omen Mages matchups. This game, I did not have a good hand, because Boomfish TCG is the only Omen Mage in Ottawa, but as part of the early game essentials, not only does Seven Cost need to see these because they need to just make sure Omen Mages can't play the game, but it's still going to be the same side early game cards they need access to. And big thing here is early game setup, very essential. But with that, we're going to get into the gameplay and give it over to Ramadi.
Hello, everyone. Ramadi here, bringing you the first top 8 match of the recent Showdown challenge. We've got Ramadi on the bottom, and they are playing 7 cost Dragon, while Boomfish is up top, and he's playing Omen Mages. Alright, Ramadi is up first, and we're going to see what they're going to open with. It's the classic, we're seeing here the Celestial Dragoon. No other line to follow up, as they are going first. Boomfish passing on turn 1 with no place to go. Pretty standard for the Omen Mages deck as it doesn't play any 1-drops, allowing this Celestial Dragoon to evolve without any issue. It's going to find a Zahar. So are we going to maybe see a Orbed Cancer alongside this Zahar pitch? Be a very nice line there. It would allow Ramadi to potentially draw 4 cards, including the Zahar trigger. And yes, that's exactly what we're going to see. So two off the Orbed Cancer. Then the Zahar is pending alongside the Dracoon. Either can be activated. There is the argument here to start pushing for damage and swinging face, opting to not do the Zahar. Ramadi opting to do the Zahar first. You can't opt to not do the Zahar, but you can opt to not do the Dragoon. Unfortunately, looks like it's a fail to find. It can just happen with the Zahar. So they are going to activate the Dragoon, drawing a card off of that, and passing the turn over to Boomfish. Now on 2, there's plenty of 2-cost mages he can play early on to get a board. With Evo Point, there's also the ability to evolve those followers. I do think it's a pretty good line to go for the Evo here, even for no value. 2-cost has a lot of ways to remove 2-health things on 3 that it wants to do, particularly Rights is a little dangerous, but he is going to play the Grimoire Sorcerer. No Evo on it, so taking the chance. And we're going to see the Gilnalees hit the table. This is going to be unfortunate. The unevolvability of the Gilnalees is going to take off the Grimoire Sorcerer, and the Dragoon's actually going to swing in for 2 damage. No discard trigger, and Ramadi hoping for some damage there, pushing on the pressure immediately onto Boomfish. Now with 2 bodies on the board, Omen Mages doesn't have a good way to answer things early game, not until at least it can get the Ryo out. We are going to see the Adherent of Elimination come out. This is going to Evo and search for a Ryo. We'll see which one Boomfish grabs. He grabs the newer Ryo, the 9-cost Ryo. That one allows them to sacrifice 3 followers that cost 2 or more, as long as they are mages, and play it for free. And then it's going to rush in, taking out the Dragoon. Very good play here. It is going to clear that Dragoon can generate a lot of value, and we don't know what Ramadi has at this point, but they have drawn 3 cards, so there's a lot of potential there. Now going into 3 play points, here Rights would be, or 4 play points, Rights would be very powerful. It would clear this. There's also the possibility of doing something alongside a ramp into pitch, a Tyranno to clear this as well. It is very important when playing against Omen Mages that you clear their board in their early turn, or else you just let them Ryo very, very soon, and it is very dangerous. So it is important to keep a clean board. Definitely, they are going into the tank at the moment. It is a little tough sometimes on these 4 points. You don't usually have a good thing. It appears that there's maybe no Tyranno in Ramadi's hand. They are going for the second Gilnalees. This is going to clear the Adherent off the board, so Ramadi still understanding the value of that removal and swinging in for 3 damage, dropping Boomfish down to 15. Boomfish now on 4 play points. Quite a few options that could be played here. Oh, no, Ramadi's still going. My mistake there. They still had 1 left. It looks like they're just going to play the Orb Cancer to draw. So maybe considering that Orb Cancer Silver Cloud Dragon Rider. So now over the Boomfish, having now drawn up to 4 play points. And we'll have to see what he's planning here. There's a few options there. I do see the Yukishima, which he does put down on the table. Yukishima is going to allow him to play another mage card that costs 3 or less. It's going to shoot a Gilnalees here. Opting for the engaged one, it doesn't really matter as there's no other lines and the turn just ends here. Ramadi here now going to move up to 5 play points. Cannot Burnite here. Currently has 4 7 costs in the bin after 2 Orbed Cancer activations. So we'll need to get a 5th one in there before they could potentially Burnite next turn. So that's a little bit of salvation here for Boomfish and what they can do. A little bit of confusion, I believe, at the moment. Just trying to get an explanation on how the Ryo works. It does just only care about mage costs, so just needs any 3 2 cost or more mage cards. So you do have to supplement the cost with your followers, but you can use things like Yukishima to get those out very easily and very fast. Your Boomfish almost demonstrating had Ramadi not cleared the adherent on the previous turn, Boomfish would be able to just drop the Ryo on the table on the previous turn thanks to the Yukishima by bringing out the Hermit of Truth and then just stacking all 3 to play the Ryo. So again, 5 play points here. Ramadi does have 6 damage on the board as it is, and maybe thinking about if there's a way to probably clear this to try and maybe delay the Ryo from hitting the table. Instead of opting to Draconic Call for 2, leaving them with 3 left over, going to grab a Burnite. So now 1 Burnite confirmed and a Tyranno. So the Tyranno could potentially help clear something in the future. Going to add both of those to the hand. The Call is going to move to the cemetery as it should after being played. And we'll have to see. Putting down the Dracomancer's rights now. So with the rights, that's potentially 8 damage as nothing here can be cleared as that's all 5. Pitching the Dread, so likely had that on a previous turn to potentially ramp with. And now is pushing 8 damage, which that's putting Boomfish down to 7, exactly into Burnite range. Now putting some pressure onto Boomfish to be able to gain some life, or potentially clear off their board from followers, as Ramadi does need 2 more 7 cost in the cemetery. And while Burnite could do that, it does need 2 bodies to be able to shoot, or at least a body to be able to live. So playing Ryo here would not be the best ability, since I believe... Oh no, the Ryo is only 6 health. Despite the fact that it costs 9, it is only 6 health, mostly due to its alternate ability and the ability to easily revive things. It does definitely present... It is a solution that could out to this. Boomfish going into the tank, we're going to see the Edict of Truth to go 5 deep and find 2 cards to potentially play here. Maybe looking for an out to try and solve this, as not just is Boomfish dead to a Burnite, they're also dead to board. So they need to find a way to clear board in addition. That is one way to clear the board, is grabbing 2 copies of Truth's Adjudication with 2 mages on the board that can draw 4 cards that can clear both followers easily. Just one of these actually could clear both followers here by shooting 3 at one of them and then using the Yukishima to shoot the other one. So pointing, looks like the Yukishima trigger is going there. The draw 2 and 3 damage face, it appears. Pushing Ramadi down to 17 there, or 18 actually, after the life gain from the Dracomancer's rights. A trigger often forgotten, but still sometimes important. Truth's Education number 2 here is going to be played, whether it gets thrown face or it is going to point the 3 damage at the second Gilnillies, clearing the board now. But Ramadi does have 9 damage with the Dracomancers and the Gilnillies, so Boomfish now with no play points, needing to find a way to gain 3 life to stay alive here. Opted not to swing the Hermit of Truth into a Gilnillies to remove that target from Ramadi, preventing them from winning the game on the next turn off the Burnite that they have revealed previously. But Boomfish trying to find something here, but out of play points, there's not really much that can be done at this point. The deck doesn't really have a lot of ways to play things for free, though it can absolutely have its extended turns, but usually it needs Ryo on the board to do that. Opting to swing for 5 damage, pushing Ramadi down to 13 life, and looking at his hand for any other moves that could be made here. Not seeing anything that could help. Discarding 2 to hand size, it appears, and Ramadi's going to take their turn here, and we're going to see the Burnite shoot 1, shoot the other on the Evo there, and win the game by burning for 9.
Hey guys, so just doing a little bit of the in-between, we have Wasteland Sword and Wasteland Dragon. So not only was Wasteland Sword a very dominant force back in set 11, But our buddy Crates, who's been showing up to locals lately, has really taken a liking to it. Not only did the structure deck give him the ability to play the deck quite fluidly, you know, you don't really need much cards outside of that, but it still has the same strengths. Unfortunately, Not has aged quite poorly, and Wasteland Dragon, with although only one piece of support, definitely has the leg up. And its raw aggro tools kind of just out tempo the deck. Now, did Crates have all of the cards? No, not at all. He didn't have his Celias, and that's a big part of what this matchup comes out to be. Even though that you have most of the cards you needed from that structure deck, that early token generation for your Realmia turns is nothing to joke about. But even still, Wasteland Dragon has those tools, perhaps the Wrenchsmith, and that can help tag down those early bodies, making those Realmia turns less impactful. And yeah, it's an interesting dynamic we have here in Ottawa where we fully understand what Wasteland Dragon is able to do, the advantages that it's able to abuse and then also take advantage of in certain matchups. And it's quite interesting. So, yet again, we have the early game essentials. And as per usual in these aggro matchups, Balefire Wrenchsmith is the key. They have access to that card. Yeah, the aggro matchups in the mirror matches, or even when it comes to Wasteland Sword, more of a mid-range type thing. They still need bodies. They still need that early tempo, and Balefire Wrenchsmith is just a ridiculous card. Also, when they're able to sling out those big bodies early game, yeah, that's gonna hurt, and you're gonna be taking that damage quite hard. So quite interesting the dynamics Wasteland Dragon provide, and I've come to appreciate it quite a lot. Um, yeah, it's an interesting deck and proving to be a lot better than a lot of people gave it credit for, because I don't think anyone gave it any sort of credit coming into set 16. Moving on to Benny, kind of a historic run this guy was on for the Showdown Shop Challenge. Not only was he basically just the starter deck without much consideration for other cards, but he did quite well. Even though that it's a top 8, and I believe we might have only had 10 people maybe at this locals, um, he did play quite well. And I think because, you know, if you go X4 in this, you're not going to make the top 4. And he certainly didn't do that. And I believe he went either 2-2 or better. But he is still a beginner. And let me tell you, coming from his Magic the Gathering experience, I think he's going to be quite the force once he gets access to all the cards he needs. So with that, we're going to get into the gameplay and back to Ramadi.
Moving on to top four, we have Crates on the bottom playing Wasteland Sword, and Kanagawa on the top playing Wasteland Dragon. Kanagawa is going to take the first move, and he's going to open with an Engineer, which will create a Bike on Death. And we're going to see here the Gunslinger come down from Crates, creating a Steed immediately, and then passing the turn. We're going to see a second Engineer come down, and Kanagawa straight to the races, swinging for 2, pushing Crates to 18. Now on turn 2, no mounts on the board, so we're going to have to see what Crates is going to opt to do here. A little bit of discussion, but we're going to see a Realmia hit the table now. This is the new Realmia that has come out. It immediately has Storm. No way to pump this. No way to pump the Realmia, as it's not a Wasteland, but can pump the Gunslinger, which is what Kratos is going to choose to do here. Cracking the Steed to swing in for 1. Realmia having Storm is going to be able to swing in for 2, immediately pushing Kanagawa down to 17. Here we're going to see 2 Engineers. Those can both go in for 2 damage apiece for 4 total. Kanagawa may opt to trade here, which will create a bike, ultimately only losing 1 damage. And that's what we're going to actually see here. Trading out to the Realmia with their Engineer. Could clear the other Gunslinger. We're going to see a Reggie. There's the line. Reggie gets played to bring back another Engineer. The bike is going to get used on to, it appears, the one of the Engineers, and the ad Engineer is going to go face, it looks like. Swinging for 3 damage, putting Crates down to 15. a little bit of thinking, and we'll see what's going on. Oh, instead choosing to put the bike onto the revived engineer off the Reggie, so that one gains rush and then can use that to swing in and only pushing for 2 damage, putting crates down to 16. Now on turn 3, there's a lot of damage here that Reggie evolving would pump up all Wasteland followers on the board. We're going to see Bunny and Baron hit the table here, which will be able to Evo immediately and can either grab a Desperado shot or a bike. Here, most Wasteland players will opt to make the car immediately, because you can maneuver the car the turn it comes in with the Bunny and Baron, since you can maneuver free with that. So we're gonna throw it face and draw a card off the strike. Um, Effect due to having another Wasteland card on the board. Now back to Kanagawa here. Evoing Reggie here would be 4 plus another 3 plus 4 from the Reggie would be 11 damage, putting crates down to 5. A very dangerous out. There's the draw off of the car. The strike was just missed, but it's all fixed now. So it is a lot of damage just with this Reggie, and that would still leave Kanagawa with another 3 play points to potentially use. Maybe some other Storm cards could potentially come down. Might choose to trade. We're going to see the Balefire going to come down. This is going to deal 1 damage every time a Wasteland card is put onto the board. So we're going to see the Steed hit the table. It's going to shoot the Bunny and Baron, putting it down to 3 automatically. Still with the 1, we might see the Reggie evolve. Yep, the Reggie's going to evolve, pumping everything up by 1. So we're going to have an Engineer with 3 attack, another Engineer with 4 attack. Reggie's not going to bump herself, but it is going to bump the Balefire up as well to 3 for whenever that thing is ready to swing. One of the Engineers is going to trade in to the Bunny and Baron, clearing it. And then the bike can go on to one of the Engineers, making it a 5 attack. With the Steed, it would also be 6. And a little bit of discussion. Nope, miscommunication there. Thinking the turn had passed, but it appears to not be the case. There is, of course, 8 damage just as it is or I believe it is 7. I always forget Reggie's stats, but we're going to see the Steed come down, and Reggie, it is a 3/6, so it's now a 4/4, so that's going to be 4 damage there, putting crates to 12, and another 4 damage from the Engineer, putting crates to 8. Now, a lot of damage present on the table. Kanagawa currently presenting 12 damage, and Crates has no board, and Sword these days doesn't have a lot of quick removal. Going to play the Not, that's not going to solve anything here, only on turn 4, unfortunately. Not will be able to box a follower, preventing it from re-engaging, or refreshing, but there's no more play points, no other lines that Sword can take here, and with the bike on the table, Kanagawa can just straight up swing for 8 damage as it is. There's no life gain from this line. I failed to see, I don't know entirely what Crates had in his hand here, but I failed to see how Not does solve this issue at hand. It's just one of those things that players sometimes they get used to taking lines like, oh, Not's a good card. I'll play it on 4, and it might not lead to the board state that you're hoping for. Even playing the henchman here for free for 1, you can't maneuver the car because you don't have the 1 play point to pay for the alternate cost, since you can't use Bunny, because Bunny and Baron can maneuver it for free. But if you want to use two followers, you do need to play 1 play point that Crates no longer has after playing Not. So we're going to see what gets boxed here. Can still choose to box anything. It won't refresh. Choosing to box the Engineer, which will work. Now, of course, comes the song and dance of players trying to figure out, how do I note that this card is boxed? I've seen all kinds of different ways for it to happen. And here, I'm going to refresh, swinging for 7. That's not quite lethal, but then the Forte is going to hit the table, and that's going to swing for game.
Hey guys, so just as the little in between, this is Wasteland Haven, Wasteland Dragon, final round of our Showdown shop challenge. And interestingly enough, we have not only Kanagawa, who performed well at our BCS in Mississauga, or Grand Showdown in Mississauga, but we have our good buddy Chris, who was on Wasteland Haven, the same deck that he was also able to top with at the Grand Showdown, although he was not a big fan. Thinking about this matchup more in depth, it is quite scrappy. Wasteland Dragon has enough tools to be able to remove stuff, and then also Wasteland Haven, if it has a good hand, sees those good openers, it can actually dominate the matchup very aggressively. But the thing is, I feel like Wasteland Dragon actually sees its control pieces, its ability to fight through the board a little bit earlier than Haven. So that can really end up being quite major. Because as we see, as we covered before, the Balefire Wrench Smith is quite a strong option. And that really takes a strong bite out of what Wasteland Haven is able to do. And considering how it comes down on turn 2, has high synergy with the deck, means that you're pretty much never going to run out of targets to activate the ping effect. Obviously, you don't want to necessarily play this on turn 2 because it gives them the opportunity to recover that tempo loss. But having something in a aggro mirror match is quite strong. Moving on, we have the early game essentials of Wasteland Haven. Yet again, we've covered this before, but it's really abusing the power cards you have access to. We have Celine, we have Lunarian Paladin, and we have the Jean Evo. If you see these cards and you're able to abuse these Evo effects, plus the regular, of Celine, and then perhaps the Rana, I believe, it really shows. All right, so we're getting into the next match, and we're getting right back to Ramadi. So I'll pass it off to him, and yeah, thanks for tuning in.
And we've got one last game for you here, the finals of the Showdown Challenge. Kanagawa once again up top playing Wasteland Dragon, and Christian playing Wasteland Haven. Kanagawa is up first, and they're going to open with an Engineer, the same line we saw in the semifinals. Now, Chris is going to play a Shady Priest, putting that onto the table. No immediate damage, but is going to put a Steed into EX. We're going to see Kanagawa go and move on to turn 2. And we're going to see an Artificer hit the table here, allowing Kanagawa to check the top 3. Going to grab a Balefire, very strong into this matchup, being able to pick off a lot of little things. And the Engineer is going to swing in for 2 damage, pushing Chris to 18. Now Chris on 2 here, going to play the Haven Fire, taking out the Artificer immediately, trading in with the Shady Priest, putting a bike on the table, but clearing the board and pushing back on some of that aggression that we are seeing in the early game here from Kanagawa. On 3, there's a few options here that could come out. The Reggie is normally the line we see him take, but with no followers on the board, Reggie isn't that good on an empty board. So we'll have to see, maybe playing the Balefire, getting it set up potentially for future. We have seen a Haven Fire get used. Is that just putting a PDK on the table? A card we haven't seen in a long time, but is also going to do a very similar purpose to that Balefire and being able to machine gun down followers, which we know this Wasteland Haven deck has a lot that I can do, and it can go wide very fast. We are going to see the Summon John here come down and is going to Evo immediately, allowing Chris to put another follower onto the board, choosing to put Rolla, who will evolve due to being placed by an ability, and has Storm swinging for 3. Now there's a board. PDK can help with this, being able to shoot something for 2 and burning 1 face in the process. And we do know that there's a Balefire there. So do we potentially see something like Balefire into another Wasteland follower? The Balefire would deal 3 thanks to the PDK once it summons its own steed. And then you would need another card that generates a mount. You would have to crack the steed or the bike. But if you play another card that summons a mount, it would allow Kanagawa here to clear the board and burn 2 face with very little issue. So there's definitely, but it is a complicated line. There is 7 defense currently on the table. So finding a way around this is difficult, but we will see what he's got in his hand in a moment. We do know the one Balefire, but the rest of this is all a mystery. It's definitely a complicated line, so surely he's got several options he could take. I'm not quite certain what else is in this deck and what else can play, but we're going to see the Reggie come down. The Reggie is going to Evo follower. He's going to Evo the Artificer, which will allow him to check the top 3. We'll see the opting to do the PDK first, dealing 2 damage there, and then another 2 damage. Two PDK activations, back to back. The Artificer is still pending, I believe, here. It should just be a basic fanfare. That will create the repair mode, and Balefire could come down, but it would not clear the roll on its own here. Also, he's only got one play point left, so he can't even play Balefire to begin with. Maybe we'll see something like another engineer, which would not be bad. Play the engineer, tap, give it rush. It is in fact the extra engineer. 2 damage there, 1 off the PDK to burn another one face, and then clearing there with the using the bike to give the engineer rush, and then clearing with it, which will kill the engineer and allow it to create another bike. Now, a huge board here, presenting 3 damage with the Reggie, plus another, I believe, 3 with the Evo. We're going to see 2 Alices come down, allowing Chris here to refill his hand, draw 2 cards, and putting some bodies on the table. So very, very good stabilizing line here. But we are going to potentially see a lot of damage. PDK here can cause some issues. 3 health cards are easy to remove thanks to a Balefire. So choosing to use the bike to pump up the Artificial, making it 3 attack. That would be able to swing in for 7 should the Reggie choose to evolve. Balefire is going to come down thanks to the PDK and the Balefire's ability. It's going to clear one of the Alice and burn face. We're going to see the Steed get pushed into the same Artificer we saw, now making it a 4/4. 3 play points remaining. Still can Evo the Reggie. Still might want to put something else on the table to be able to get an extra attack in for free. We are seeing currently 8 damage on the Evo, which would push Chris down to 6 life. I'm going to see another Artificer come down. It's going to deal 2 from the PDK and then 1 from the Balefire to clear the second Alice. Going to find the Neural and add that to the hand. Burn 1 as well, down to 13. Reggie's going to evolve, pumping everything up here. This is a big board and very scary. And sometimes Haven does struggle to rebuild itself. We do know that Chris has a lot of different cards in his hand, and I know the deck doesn't typically play Themis' Decree, but this would be a juicy Themis' Decree here. But we are going to, but Kanagawa is going to swing in for 8 damage here, pushing Chris to 5 on the back foot. What lines can be taken here for 5? Does have access to Evo points, is going to go for a Lumerian to dig. We don't know if that was an Evo point or a play point that was paid there, but we'll have to see based off whatever other lines are taken. And it seems that, we're just going to get a concession from Chris. Could not find whatever he needed to stay alive. With that, thank you guys so much for watching, and we will catch you guys in the next one.